So we are here at our next level budgeting. This morning, this was a really, really fun session to do. So I'm looking forward to doing it again this afternoon. And a few housekeeping things. Use the Zoom chat feature to interact with us. Let us know where you're coming from. Just say hi. If you like something or you have a comment on something we see, if it's something that maybe you've used before that you really like, throw that in the chat. If you have any questions, make sure to use the Zoom Q&A. Now, I will say that always I have to go into the More option at the end of my Zoom controls to find my Q&A option, so it is over there. We do have our support for closed captions turned on, so if that's something you need, feel free to use that. There are a diverse group of Martus users here. We are going to talk a little bit about the forecast module, but just be aware that that is at the plus or premium levels in Martus subscriptions. So if you have questions about which subscription you're at, you can also throw that in the Q&A. Oni would be able to let you know that. And then we will send out the video and PowerPoint for this. You will receive an email with a link into the knowledge base where we will post this. And that will be available hopefully tomorrow, if not usually Thursday, and in worst case scenario, Friday. So you should get an email and that will take you into the knowledge base. If you feel like you get to next week and you're like, wait, I never got the email, you can always go to the knowledge base and the recent webinars page, and you'll see the links for all of our recent webinars right there. All right, so where are we headed? We are going to talk about our budget line editing tool. This is a newish tool for us. I think we decided this morning it was released sometime late 2024. We think maybe November, December. And so we're going to walk through that because I think a lot of people don't realize the capability that is there. Then we'll walk through our special purpose worksheets and some of the fun things that we can do there. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about the difference between our forecast module and our mid-year reforecast. So that's where we're headed, Oni. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so let me head over to our Martus screens here. All right, and we are going to start here on this page called Budget Lines. Now, oh, that's a bummer. All right, we're going to try to log in again because apparently that is what we must do. I'm not sure why. When I literally just logged in, we're having to log in again, but that's okay. We'll make it happen.
You love it when technology does that to us.
All right. So here we are again on our budget lines. We've made it back. Don't worry. And we have here our budget line editor. Now, what I was going to ask you, Oni, is this is an admin only page. Why is it an admin only page? Why did we make that choice?
Because you don't want to have everybody in the system updating. This is a feature where you can affect multiple lines in the budget, and you don't want to give access to everyone to that feature.
Yes, because we can really hose our budget here. So one of our best practices for the budget line editor is prior to using the budget line editor, you want to come over to Planner Setup. And from Planner Setup, we can archive our budget. So we're going to look here. Our planner default right now is our framework budget. We're going to set it to our actuals and budget, so we have data in here. And then prior to using our budget lines, I am going to come in and I'm going to select my budget and I'm going to click on archive. Now, this in and of itself is a great budgeting pro tip. Anytime you're about to make a mess in your budget, in other words, anytime you're about to do something that's a little bit more dangerous, it's great to come in and archive your budget. So we'll just call this archive and I'll click on archive. And now we have this budget archived and we can restore it at any point from the manage archived budget. So you can see here, here's the one I archived just now on 3/18. Can you believe it's the 18th already? It's just crazy.
This, yeah,
Um,
it's this year is
and
going by too quick.
then so yeah, so that's where the archive is. And then somebody just asked if we archive, if we delete a budget, is it automatically archived? And the answer is yes. So if you were to delete a budget, like this one, budget lines, let's delete one of our scenarios here. We'll just delete one of these. Now, that budget is not really gone. It is over here. And it's going to be archived automatically, and the word deleted is going to be appended to the name. One of the things to note, though, about your archived budgets and your deleted budgets is that we don't archive and save any attachments that you may have on your budget worksheets. But otherwise, all of your SPWs, your approval statuses, the numbers in the budget, those are all recorded. All right, so Oni, let's go over here to our budget line editor and let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. So when you first get here, you're just going to have all of your filters at the top. Notice that we can filter to all of our dimensions. So in this system, we have set up our location, department, and project as dimensions in Martus. We can also filter by account and account category. So sometimes we may just want to filter to a certain account, let's say like tuition fees, and hit load. Now you see here, the power of this page is that we are seeing lines across the budget. So we saw earlier, Oni, and we'll look in a minute, but we saw earlier today that sometimes this is a good option. Sometimes even if you just want to be able to report on certain things and kind of see budget lines and filtered in different ways and see those. So let's find an account with a little bit more data in it. Let's see. We'll do program supplies here and we'll hit load. I'm going to hide my menu by clicking on the hamburger icon here just so we can get a little bit more screen real estate. And we can see here all of our program supplies. So maybe I just need to know what that information is. I can see that. But more often we're coming to budget lines to take action on the lines. So notice right now I'm in budget mode, which means we are going to, by default, take action on all of our lines that we see. So down here in the bottom right corner, I always like to keep an eye on this number, Oni, so that I don't lose track of how many items I'm changing.
Exactly.
It's always a good gut check too. Like if I'm seeing 500 here, I'm like, wait, I didn't have 500 program supplies lines. Like what else? What am I missing? Did I forget to hit load? What's going on? So it's always a good idea to see how many items you have there and actually read them and make sure that they make sense to what you want to update. So now in my actions menu, I have the ability to round my lines. We can do that. Again, be careful with this because there isn't an undo. So rounding to the nearest dollar is not a big deal. But usually rounding to the nearest thousands, that might be a little bit more impactful to our budget. So we're going to round to the nearest one. And I'm going to hit OK. And then notice that we have, that's adjusted all of our numbers in each of our months so that we have nice round numbers. Now, the other thing we can do here is adjust amounts. So we can change these amounts and we can click on select all for all months, meaning we're going to apply this adjustment to all of the months. And this is one of the little tool tips, Oni, I really like because looking at it, we have all of the different ways to do the math. So it's really clear what's going on. So if we want to increase by like 5% or 10%, we would do 110. To decrease, we would take that from 100. So essentially we're adding our percentage or subtracting our percentage from 100. And then to zero out all of our values, we can actually enter a 0. And we'll do that in a little bit. Actually, we'll remove lines as well. But let's just go ahead and decrease our budget for supplies by 95%. And this I know only is a real life scenario, right? We've sent our budget to the board and they've asked us to decrease certain areas by a certain percentage, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, it happens all the time.
so this is an easy way to do that rather than going into the 5 different worksheets that this number represents. So I'm going to click on apply. Now you can see that our number is a little bit less than what it was before, and we have assigned or applied that across all, which is way easier than going into each worksheet and making that change. Now, Oni, I don't know about you, but my kind of favorite method here is not the budget load mode, but it's the line mode. Which one is
I
your
agree.
favorite?
I agree. The line mode is my favorite. And this is the
Yes.
budget line is probably one of my favorite features in Martus.
Yes. So, and I love the line mode, not only because you have the flexibility to select just the lines you want to affect, but it also allows you to apply your grid filters. And what I mean by grid filters are these funnels here, this filter icon, because using that, oops, I didn't, you can also sort if you need to by clicking on it. But what I wanted to do is actually click on the filter. And what's cool about this is maybe I'm not going to remove that amount from my outreach or my food service, just my counseling and youth center. I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm just going to be left with those areas. So that column option, that column filter really allows you to dig into just the data that you need to, which is really nice and a really easy way to use this. So now we can select all of these. And again, depending on what we've selected, we want to pay close attention to this number that's here in our box so that we know that we have the right number of records. So this is telling us that we have 3 items currently in our view that's matching all of our filters. And we have 3 records selected. Now I don't have to select all of them. I could have 2, and you can see that now our number is a little bit different, but we know that because we've unselected this. Now another thing here, Oni, is can you change lines that are in worksheets that are locked from here?
You cannot. They need to be unlocked for to be able to change them.
Awesome. Now here's a really tricky question for you, Oni. What is the
Okay.
other type of line that you can't change from here?
Special purpose worksheets. Any of the special purpose worksheets lines cannot be updated from here.
Exactly. So if you have SPW lines or worksheets that are locked, you will see that in this column here, this one that's blank. You will either see the SPW icon to indicate that, or you will see the locked icon to indicate that the worksheet is locked. So we make it easy for you to be able to see which lines you are going to affect. So now in my actions menu, we'll still have round, we still have adjust amounts, and we have burn rate, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But notice that here we also have the ability to delete lines. Oni, what's our most common use case for deleting lines?
Usually when we're working on personnel budgeting and you want to zero out all of your expense lines for personnel to repost the personnel budget.
Yep, exactly. So many times as we copy our planner budget from one year to another, we have data in there for personnel to dimensions that maybe we don't need to use this year. And if so, that data is still going to be there and not be overwritten by personnel because it's not in our personnel scenario for this year. Think about grants or projects that change year after year that you may be allocating staff to. So, like Oni said, it's becoming a best practice that prior to posting your personnel scenario, especially if you are doing it for the first time in a fiscal year, you will want to, you may want to come in here and you have 2 options. You can either zero out the lines, or if you're in line mode, you can actually select the lines and delete them. Now, I'm in demo data, so I can kind of do this without really paying attention because we don't have anything in here that's very sacred. If this was your instance, I would double check and make sure that these are all the lines that you're really expecting, and then remove them. And so now those lines no longer exist in our budget. If we went out to planner summary and looked at that, it would be there would be no dollars and no accounts shown for any of those personnel accounts that we have because they are no longer in our budget. All right. So, Oni, let's look at burn rate option here.
Right.
And what we're going to do, I did this wrong last time too, is we're going to come up to summer planner summary. And I am going to let's look at let's see, what's got something that's got good randomness to it. All right, let's look at our legal fees. So we can see our legal fees across all of these different worksheets. And we can also see our total here. And very soon, Oni, I got a sneak peek of it yesterday. We're going to be able to do this right within our budget line editor, but for now, I recommend that prior to actually pushing this out, that you go look and see what's going on. And I'm not even in the right budget. So let's go do this again with the right budget because we're going to pull in our numbers from 2024 and we're going to be pulling them from our dashboard budget. So anytime you're looking at reference data in Martus, that's always going to be looking at your dashboard, and our burn rate is always going to use our dashboard budget because it's using our reference data. So let's look at those legal fees again. And here they are across all of the different dimensions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to budget lines and we are going to be in line mode, and I'm going to go again to legal fees, and I must have something else filtered. I do. I have my account category filtered, so we weren't getting any results. Let's take that off. All right, so here is what's currently in our budget. So for this line here where we're at 100, 100, we have a current total of $12,195. Over here on this page, we have a total of 11. So let me go back to our legal fees account. We'll just do it again. Nothing wrong with a little extra practice. And we'll go to line mode. And I'm just going to select our 100, 100. We can also select as many as we want. And I'm going to use this burn rate. So what the burn rate is going to do is it's going to allow me to choose any of my sources. So I'm going to choose that 2024 budget that we were looking at. Very soon there will be a preview button, and that preview button would give us the same type of report that we are seeing here on our detail tab, or we would be able to see the total and essentially what the line will look like once we apply the burn rate. So the burn rate is just going to calculate the total for the year and divide that by 12 and put that in each month. So I'm going to go ahead and hit calculate here. And it updated those two lines, and we can see here that our total is now 11,732, which is very close to what we're seeing here, but we're not seeing the change here, which exists, but this report truncates it. All right, so next we are going to look at our SPWs. Because I just want to talk a little bit about some of our SPWs and some of the enhancements we've made so that you can make sure that you and your users are using them. So we're going to jump over here to our special purpose worksheets, and I'm going to come in here to our general food service worksheet. Now, this one already has some stuff in it, but let's say we want to try to itemize some of our food that we are going to be purchasing this year. And so we want to add lines into our food service worksheet specific worksheet. So these are the worksheets that oftentimes your users are using to add detail into their lines. And one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of times when we're adding that detail into our lines, the detail we're adding is often very similar from line to line. We're posting it to the same account. We are posting it into the same section, but we have our but we're having to fill that form out every time. So we do have the ability in our special purpose worksheets to have lines that are not posted out to our worksheet, so we can do things like calculations. In this case, though, we're going to go ahead and post this. So I'm going to click on the post to budget worksheet. I have to click on that button to get the option to post it in. Now, Oni, this is grayed out. Where would I be able to go to post out to any worksheet?
Let's see. We are on the WSPW, so this is tied to that specific worksheet. If you want to post it to a different worksheet, you will have to go to that worksheet and add a special purpose worksheet.
Yep, exactly. So we do have a concept called global special purpose worksheets, which we'll look at in just a minute because I want to look at we're going to look at credit card fees and how to post that. But you can see here that in this case, because we're in a worksheet specific SPW, it's filled in for us. We can't change. But what we can change here is our account. So we're going to do program supplies, and I'm going to choose our default non-project or grant related. And then I'm going to click on save. Nope, I lied. I'm going to come over to my values and put in how much money we're going to spend. So we're going to hit $200 a month preview and $200 on dessert. I would love to spend $200 a month on dessert just for me. And then we're going to click on save. And now Martus is actually adding two lines for us. So one is this line where we can edit it. And then we have in our summary line, we have our $200. Now, prior to the release of this copy function here, we would have to click on add line and refill out that form. Now we have two different options. If I'm going to add a line that's completely different, but still in the same section, I can click on this plus sign here and fill that out. Or if I'm going to essentially add the line and it's going to post to the same place, I can just click on this copy button here. This is going to copy everything. Now, what we do want to update is the description. So we'll say beverages. And notice that my account and project are still filled in because I copied what was there before. So I don't have to mess with that. This is a huge win for your non-admin, your budget managers, who are often trying to create these. It just makes that whole thing a little bit simpler for them, that they don't have to fill those out each time. So then we'll come over to our values and we'll say we spend $500. I'm going to put $500 for beverages. Then I'm going to copy that down and click save. So now these two lines are being summarized here, and we can even see our notes there. So that copy function is definitely something to be using and utilize well. Now, a lot of times our special purpose worksheets help us pull in dollars from different places. So if you have a plus or premium subscription to Martus, you will have something that we call reporting groups. Reporting groups allow you to pull data into your special purpose worksheet. So the one we're going to look at here is our credit card fees based on sales and sales income. I'm going to edit here, and we're going to notice that this line, this 827 or 820, all these numbers here, these are coming from a reporting group. So let's go see what that means. So I'm going to come in another tab. I'm going to go to Setup and Reporting Groups. I'm going to look at our fees and sales income. And we can see here that this reporting group is including all of the amounts to these accounts. 42, looking at those accounts across the entire budget, regardless of location, department, or project. So we may want to know, how can we easily find the total for those accounts, Oni? What's a good way to do that?
Is this a trick question?
We did it this morning. We just were looking at it.
Oh, okay. Are we looking at the new feature of the account category?
Oh, no, we aren't. Sorry.
Okay.
Instead, one of the ways, yes, I should point that out though. Thank you.
Yeah.
We do now, this field here is brand new in reporting groups. So we can now build reporting groups based off account category. So technically I could have probably had a Let's see, member fees here is probably all of the accounts that are summarized here. So I could have just chosen my member fees if this feature was available before instead of choosing the various accounts, but we'll leave it like that. And what I want to show you here is that if I click on show matches here, I'm going to see all of the various areas where I have dollars budgeted. However, this isn't showing me the amounts that are budgeted. And a lot of times that's nice to see. And so one of the things that we can use now to just report is our new budget lines feature. And if I come over here and I go in and I click load and then go into line mode, I can come in. Why don't I have my grid filters? Oh, that was weird. All right. Now we have our grid filters. So I'm going to click on my grid filters here. I'm going to unselect all, and I'm going to look at my 4210, my 4220, and my 4230 totals. So I'm going to count across everything as $5,978. So now we figured out how our reporting group is finding those lines, and we have figured out how much we have budgeted for those lines. So now let's go look at our special purpose worksheet. Now, Oni, we have in here in our reporting group total 10,677 cents, which is not what our budget lines is saying. So how would we go about fixing that?
You can update the reporting group values to pull in the updated amount.
Yes, exactly. So as people are budgeting, Martus is holding on to that information, but we don't ever push or pull information in Martus from one page to another without you telling Martus to do so. So since people are doing budgeting on the worksheets, the SPW is not going to be updated until you tell it to. And the same thing the other way. If we update the SPW, nothing in the budget worksheet is going to be edited or have that number reflected until you tell Martus to do so. So there's always a push or a pull button. This one is a pull button. We're pulling information from the worksheets into our SPW, and we should see this number change to match what's here on our budget lines. So we will see. Feel like we need a drum roll here. And look at that. We've got the same exact number in both places. So we can see how powerful it is to pull in that reporting group, because now the calculations we're doing on that number to figure out our credit card fees are automatically updated as people are budgeting their income, which is really, really powerful. We had somebody on the call this morning who said he was going to be saving a lot of time just with that little tip and trick there.
Yeah, it does.
Now, one of the things about our global SPW, and one of the reasons we're using our global SPW here, is because global SPWs allow you to interact with any worksheet that you want. And what I mean by that is it's going to allow you to pull in reporting group values from any worksheet. And so we're pulling in all of those reporting group values from everything. But what we want to do is we want to post this line, this total credit card processing fees, and we're going to choose our shared worksheet here, and we'll choose our account. We're going to choose our banking fees here. Our project will be 99. And so now we're going to click, so now we're posting this out to our worksheet. Over here in our values, I do want to just say that this is a formula. So it's taking that fees and sales income right here, reporting group total, and multiplying it by our credit card percent, how much of that money we think is going to happen via credit card rather than cash, check, or debit card, and by our credit card fee, and we're getting a certain amount per month. So I'm going to hit save on this. And now if I was to post this out to my worksheet, I would be posting $4,500 $120. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about forecasts and a reforecasted budget. Now,
Awesome.
there is a big difference between our forecast module and our reforecasted budget. Do you want to tell me one or two of the differences between the two?
Yeah. So on the Reforecast module, that is a self-contained forecast. It does not connect with the planner summary, and it also does not connect with the dashboard financials. And usually for the forecast, you want to use that for really high level forecasting, where you adjust a couple drivers here and there for a quick forecast.
Yeah, exactly. So, um, here in our forecast, we want to remember that this is only going to ever live here in your forecast. It's also not collaborative. And what I mean by that is your end users are never going to be able to see forecasts that they do not create. Most of them won't even see the forecast module, but we'll go ahead and create a simple forecast. I often see this being used for things like multi-year projections, like what happens if our income continues to, in this area, continues to decline or increase, or our personnel costs go up, our gas costs go up if we rely a lot on transportation, things like that. So we'll call this a multi-year forecast. We want to leave it on the multi-year. We can also do a what if analysis. But our goal today is really to make sure that we all understand the difference and when to use a forecast in the forecast module and a reforecasted budget. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on forecasts. We do have webinars on forecasts that go further in if you want to check those out. Then we'll choose our location, department, and account category and our current budget to base it on. We'll click preview. And I will just make a quick change here. So I'm going to grab our personnel expense accounts and information. Oh, I zeroed those out. I did that this morning too, Oni. We'll grab our professional fees here. Goodness. All right. I'm going to select all of them across all years here. I could skip years if I didn't want to increase. For example, maybe I don't want to increase in 2025 because that's the budget year we're already in and we're not going to increase the budget that year. And then I'm going to click on the suggest selected. This pops up at the bottom of the screen. If you can't see it on your screen, it's probably behind the Zoom controls. If you drag those around, you'll be able to find that button just fine. And I'm going to go ahead and update this by a certain percentage. We'll do 5%. And I like to put that in the notes so I remember what I've done. And so now we can see that this is something that is rolling forward and compounding on itself. And then I'm going to come down and I'm going to click save so I don't lose my changes. And I'm going to click on results. So this is the reporting option we have. And one of the reasons why we don't necessarily use this to create a brand new budget is because notice here, we didn't have to create and grab every one of our dimensions and accounts. So while we have a total here for our 100 general, 100 counseling contributions, I don't know which accounts those are, and I don't know if it should be associated and divvied up by project. So that's one of the things that we want to be aware of in our forecast module. And yeah, Oni just asked if you've used the forecast module before, let us know because we're interested to know if you've used this before. What I'm going to show you down here is our differences year over year. So if we had changed a few different things, both in income and expense, we would start to see how that's going to impact our organization year over year. So the forecast module is great for answering overall what if questions or ongoing questions. I probably a year ago now helped one of our clients work on a forecast because they wanted a bank loan to open a new location and the bank was asking for a 10-year forecast, which Martus can do, and with certain changes from historical data, different percentages across different account categories to see what things would look like in 10 years. This was a really, really easy way to do that. And then we have our reforecasted budget. So to make a reforecasted budget, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Planner Setup. Now, a reforecasted budget, many organizations may have multiple budgets. If you want to throw in your chat also how many budgets you end up with at the end of the year, we would be interested to know that as well, which often indicates how many versions you're making at the beginning of the year to do your budgeting, or how many reforecasted budgets you want to do. So if you want your staff to be a part of the reforecasting process, this is the way to do it, because we're essentially going to make a budget copy that they can then update. Now we're going to go back to the year that we're pretending it is, which is 2024. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to click on load. And we are going to see in here, we have our, somehow I ended up here last night, but we're going to make another one. So we're going to select here our board approved budget. And I'm going to click on copy. Nope, I lied. Totally lied. We are not going to do that. That was the old way to do it, Oni. I was just testing you to see if you knew. You can do it that way. You can copy the budget and load actuals in, but you don't have to do it that way anymore. If you're used to doing it that way, the easier way to do it now is to create the budget here and base it on your current year's actuals and budget. Now, Oni, it's telling us it's going to load actuals through September 2024. Where is it getting the idea of September 2024?
Yeah, so that is actually taking the date from the last closed month that is set on the calendar. So whatever date is set on the setup calendar, it's going to use that as the default month for reporting and for the budget creation.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll show you in a minute where you can override it, but it's often easier to, if you need it to be a different month than that, back over to, like Oni said, it's in setup calendar, and change it. And then you can always change it back once you're done loading your actuals into your budget. So we're going to click on our source budget here. We'll choose our dashboard budget. Now, Oni, do you know where we can go to see what Martus is asking us here with our limit to worksheets existing and source budget option here?
Yeah, so if we navigate to Dashboard Financials and select the Report Worksheet Budget Comparison, yes, it will show which worksheets we originally had budgets for. So all of the check marks are the ones we originally had budgets for, and the ones that are the X are the ones that had actuals but no budgets.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say that normally your best practice, if you are creating a reforecasted budget, would be to make sure that Martus creates worksheets for everywhere you have actuals. Otherwise, in that budget copy, you are not going to have all of the dollars that are represented with the X's. And so I remember, Oni, when I first started at Martus, somebody had copied and made a forecast, and they hadn't unselected that. And so what happened was they were looking at like the forecast report, and it was very different than what was in the forecast that they had created. And it took me a minute to figure out why. And it was because they hadn't included the worksheets that weren't budgeted. So if you've spent money in areas that you didn't budget before, you need to include that in your forecast budget. Otherwise, that's not going to be truth, because it won't include everything you've spent. So we're going to jump back over to our planner setup here, and I'm going to unselect the limit to worksheet existing and source budget. And we're going to call this our Q4 updated forecast. Why not? And I'll click on create budget, and we'll click on OK. I'm going to click on view task progress, and it's thinking, Any ideas on why this is taking a little bit longer than it did earlier this morning?
Probably we leave the, yeah, SPWs posted. That's why. Whenever we
Yes.
leave that selected, then Martus takes a little bit longer.
Yep, exactly. So that's something that's newish as well. The SPWs, we now have the ability to post or not post them when you are copying the budget or importing the budget. Fun fact, in Martus, when you copy a budget or you export the budget file and re-import, Martus is essentially doing the same thing as far as the routines and the backend processes it's running through. So it's going to pull in each tab of what would be the budget export, whether you're copying the budget, it's going to do it kind of the same way, or you're just importing it. And when you are doing those, you will have the option in Planner Setup. We'll click on Create Budget again just so you can see to post the SPWs after September 2024. So if you're importing a budget and copying a budget and you know that your organization has a lot of SPW lines across the organization, oftentimes if you unselect the post SPWs, Martus will take a lot less time in that budget copy and you can go in and post your SPWs later from the SPW page. Because, Oni, did you know you can just post those all at once?
Yes, yes.
So this is often a lot easier and is a little bit faster, I feel like, and it lets you keep working in that new budget worksheets while once it's copied, if you just come in afterwards and post them all here. So you can now kind of separate that process because whenever you're posting SPWs in that import, Martus is going out to every single worksheet that is included there and updating those numbers. So it takes it a little while to make that happen. It's a lot of heavy lifting on our server. All right, so coming back to our planner setup, what I want to show you here, if I go back to our 2024 and click load, we will notice that the Q4 updated forecast is automatically frozen for us through a lot of times I will come into a system and I will see like the board approved budget frozen. That usually isn't necessary because we haven't loaded actuals into our board approved budget normally. Normally, the only time we would want to see a budget as frozen is something that is a budget where we have loaded that year's actuals into it. And the reason we want to freeze it is because we're essentially telling Martus, hey, put the actuals in and then don't let me change those because those are my actuals and I wouldn't want to change them. So we're going to set this one here as our planner budget. This means that we would still be working, and we're going to unlock all of our worksheets. We would still be in our dashboard financials. We're going to still be reporting on this budget because it's marked as our dashboard default. But we can start working on our reforecast here in the planner section because this is now set as our planner default. So I'm going to come over to Planner and Worksheets, and we're going to navigate back to 2024. Click Load, and now we'll go into one of these worksheets. I'm going to hold down the Control key so that I can jump into a worksheet in a new tab. So you can see that loading here. All right. So notice at the top, it's frozen through September 2024. So I know we're towards the end of our time, but I want you guys to stick with me because this is one of the concepts that I think is really important to understand about how Martus works. So if I click on one of these lines, we are going to see the actuals that have been loaded in through September 2024 and our budget for the rest of the year, and we would be able to change those budget numbers. It's going to look the same if I clicked on the budget widget. I'm only going to be able to adjust the numbers in the rest of the year. Now, one of the things I want to show you, if I use my copy existing values here, and I use my 2024 actuals, I should be seeing this number in each one of my columns. And I am. So if I was looking here in our reference data, if I looked at my 2024 numbers and there we go. And what's in my row, I'm going to see matches through September of 2024, or at least I should. However, Oni, if my finance team maybe found something that they needed to change historically, and this number with my actuals updated, would this number update here?
It would update if you rerun the updater.
It will update here. Yes, it will update here if you update the updater. But what's in the line here?
Oh,
This
it does
value?
not because it's frozen.
Yes, exactly. So this is frozen. It will not update. So realize that again, nothing in Martus is pushed or pulled into your budget until you tell it to. So even though here in our reference data, things may change, let's say we had created this forecast in October, so September isn't that far away and we made a change. So you have two options if that's true. One, you can always come back to your planner setup and reload your actuals into that budget. Let's go back to 2024 and load our actuals. And notice that we can choose what month and we can submit that, and that would update what the line has in it. The other option is on a budget by budget worksheet. You can unfreeze the worksheet. As an admin, you have that ability. Now, one of the things about a frozen budget is that it stays frozen. So this is a temporary thaw. Once you leave the worksheet and reopen it, or even if I refresh the screen here, the budget would be refrozen. So I'm going to re-unfreeze it, and then I'm going to pay attention here to my reference data. I want to use my 2024 actuals and budget because I'm going to assume that I've changed something and I want that to be pulled into this worksheet. So now I'm going to come up to my worksheet actions and click on initialize. Notice that it's allowing me to use my 2024 actual and budget numbers. And we're going to choose our budget numbers for those months and just set the values all to 100%. So essentially we're just telling Martus, re-pull in my actuals for this month. Or for this year, excuse me. And now I can refreeze my worksheet. And now I would have those updated numbers in my lines. So that's one of the very nuanced things. If you have questions about that, definitely reach out to your support people. But I wanted to kind of put that into your mind so that you understood where those numbers were coming from and that they're not changed regardless of what else happens in the system, unless you manually update them. All right, Oni, let's wrap up. I'm going to jump back over here to our PowerPoint, and we'll talk about what's coming up next. So next week, definitely join us and invite your end users, your budget managers, your non-admin users to our Martus Basics for End Users. So we are going to go through the basics of the budget widget, budget worksheets, how to edit your worksheet, how to submit your worksheet, the very basics of special purpose worksheets, like we kind of walked through today with copying a line and itemizing some of those expenses, as well as some of our basic reports. So some of our dashboard reports, as well as some of our planner summary reports, basically everything an end user would need to be able to be successful in Martus. The reason it's important for you to let them know is because we don't communicate directly with your non-admin users. We don't send them the webinar email unless they sign up for a webinar, of course. And they don't see on their welcome screen the updates and the webinar updates there. So if you want them to come, you need to let them know about it and send them the link to register. Then way off in the distance in May, on the 6th or the 7th, if you are joining us from Australia, we are going to talk about all the new things in Martus since May. And I will tell you, Oni, we have done so much already. We present that every month for our partner users of just what's happened in the last month. And every month we have 5 to 7 items that we go over that are all pretty significant enough to mention to our resellers and partners. So we want to make sure that you all know as well all the new things in Martus. So definitely join us in May and we will walk through each of those. All right. As always, if you have questions, reach out to your support representative, whether that's our support team or your reseller, and we would love to help you with any of those questions. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Oni, so much for your help and your insight.
No, thank you, Melissa, for sharing all of your knowledge with us.
No problem. All right, guys. Well, we will hope to see you next week, and hopefully you will have a great week in the meantime. Bye,
Take care.
everybody.